Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative, and to my family and subscribers in the United States of America, I want to wish you a very happy 4th of July. This piece is being done in your colors, red, white, and blue. I have this mold that I have only used the Alumilite in, and when I did that, it was a bit of a disaster because I didn't measure, my measurements were totally off when I did it. I'm going to be doing it in resin, and we are going to be obviously doing this in the colors of the United States, which are red, white, and blue. For the white, I'm going to use the Akoya white by Eye Candy Pigments. I am going to be using the translucent ocean blue by Alumilite, and I am going to be using the Resi Tint Max Classical Red by Elichem Resins. And then just to sparkle things up a little bit, we have silver stars. I don't think I have white, so hopefully silver will be okay. And I have blue and red glitter that we're going to mix in because, well, why shouldn't we make things sparkle? I think that would be an awesome idea. Now, as I'm sitting here thinking, I'm wondering if I have, instead of an ocean blue, if I might have a blue. I know I have a green, but it's not quite, it's not a green. They're green, it's more of a blue. And I'm just looking over, and no, I don't think so. Just give me a second. I'm just going to try and untangle myself here and see what I've got over in my selection. Sorry about that delay. No, that's the blue we're going to have to be using. Part of the reason I want to use these different products, if you will, is to see how they flow together with each other. I'm not going to be doing any clear. I want just the 3 colors, and I want to see how well they'll blend together. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be using my Magic Resin Art and Craft 2-part epoxy for this. I'm going to get that organized. I'm going to make up about 340 mil. I have my fingers crossed that's going to be enough. This is one of those pieces that it's, I'm guessing at it, but I have a bit of a reason why I'm picking 340 specifically. So if my way works, then I'll tell you how I came up with that. If it doesn't, then I'm not going to tell you, because obviously my method is off the beaten path. Anyway, I will be back once I have, I'm going to say, my resin all mixed up, and potentially I'll mix some of my color in, but I guess that'll be a surprise for you when we get back. See you shortly. Hey again. I have 2 of my colors mixed up so far. Next we are going to do the white, and then we're going to put the sparkles in together. I did pull out another sparkle. I have my Nuvo red carpet that I've put into the red. We have the white to mix up, and I'm going to use a fair bit of the white pigment, the mica powder pigment. Yeah, the mica powder. Just because I want to have a lot in there, just to make it as true to a white as I can. And I'm not normally one for putting a lot of pigment or mica powder in anything. I'm usually very deliberate in the amount I put in, but this time I decided to kind of go a little overboard with it. I have decided that my red glitter is going to go in the red, my blue in the blue, and then the stars will go in the white. And you may be wondering why, and I don't know why, but it just seems like the thing to do, so it's what I'm going to do. If I had just a clear with nothing in it, I'd probably put them all together. But I thought, you know what, let's see what happens if we, hopefully we'll get to see some of it. We may not, just because we're dealing with all color, but you know what? It's one of those I just feel like going in this direction, so I'm going to. I split up my resin pretty equal. So I had, you know, sort of the same amount of each color, because I've been known to overdo one color versus another. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I just today decided I'll get it a little bit closer to what I want. And I think what I'm going to do is I am going to fill up the lid first. It's quite a big lid, and I want to make sure I have enough for the lid. I'm not as concerned with the bottom as I am with the lid. So we're going to pour the lid first. So I'll get this way. I can kind of feel it the resin warming up, so I have to get going on that. And that's one of the things I find, that if you're doing a lot and then you start mixing colors, you don't want to have too many colors, just because what's going to end up happening is it's going to start warming up. So with deep pour resin, I'm trying to think, I wouldn't think you'd have that issue because you've got so much working time with it. So not sure what they do to it so that you can play with it so much. And I guess too, normally when you're doing a deep pour, I'd like to think that would you normally just be doing one color, because of how it sort of takes so long to set up and how the colors are going to play together. That's kind of why I like using just a regular epoxy, because it starts to set up quicker. So I'm just sort of going around, and it's not overly white, but it is white. So let's hope I've got enough pigment in there. So that's, well, not really fair. It's on a white stick, but that's okay. That's okay. So let's get our stars for our white. And I'm going to be kind of generous on this. I realized when I was going through my glitter, I have so much glitter. And even, you know, when I think about, I've got stars and hearts, and I've got bones, and I've got paws, and I've got hearts and butterflies, and I've got everything. So it's like, start using this stuff up. Stop being so chintzy on it. You bought it for a reason, use it. So I'm going to have to start following that advice. Just start doing it. So for you guys who are down in the US of A, what are you up to today? What are you with family, friends? Are you doing anything? Are you just relaxing at home? Have you traveled anywhere? Let me know in the comments what you got going on. If you are watching this, or even if you're not watching this on the 4th of July, what did you get up to on the 4th of July? That's lots. See, I'm being very, very liberal with my colors today, and we'll throw some of this in the blue, and then we can get to pouring. Yeah, I'm hoping the red and the blue, well, I'm hoping all of them come through. Why am I saying just the red and the blue? And I'm not putting any glue in this to make things suspend. I'm just letting it, I can just let it do its own thing. Anyway, so yeah, put in the comments below if you went away, if you're watching this actually on the 4th of July, or if you're watching it after, what you got up to, what the weather's like where you are. Yeah, anything. Just like to know what you get up to on your 4th of July. Okay, I'm just going to throw that back in there. And then we'll mix up the red. And then we'll get to pouring. Okay. I'm starting to enjoy using just regular plastic cups instead of some of these heavier duty plastic pieces for mixing up my resin. It makes cleanup so much easier when I don't have to clean up multiple pots and whatnot to reuse them. I mean, I'm totally up for reusing things. I don't have an issue doing that. But some days it just gets to be a little much for me. Right. These all cleaned up. And the blue. And like I said, I'm really hoping that I've got enough resin to do all of it, and if not, I figure it'll be easier if I have to, this is not flat, if I have to make some more for the bottom. I'd rather do it for the bottom than for the lid. All right, let's get these off to the side. Let's get these where you can see them. Okay, is that good? And I just want to make sure you can see when I do the base as well. I don't want to, yep, okay, we're good. I just want to, and I re-leveled out my table. Okay, so let's do a little bit of red. I guess red, white, and blue, eh? Oh, and actually I'm not going to worry about that. You know what? If it sprays around a little bit, so what? Some of this stuff out of the way so I can place them, so I can pour easier. We're gonna have squiggles all over the place, aren't we? That's gonna be funny. It always interests me how this stuff just seems to fly around like it does. It just, red, white. You know what? I'm not gonna worry about that. When I'm pouring the bee into the measuring cup, how it sometimes flies, and I'm not quite sure I understand. Like, it's almost like it's static, and I haven't quite figured that one out yet, why it does that. So I'm going to be really curious. I'm really hoping I have enough. But like I said, I'd rather have to redo more for the lid than for the base than the lid. Yes, I would. Here's hoping this comes out nice, eh? I might swirl. I might do some swirling, I'm not sure. And when you're doing lids like this is something I'm finding too, is you want to make sure that it gets, you don't get air bubbles underneath there. So you want to go slow and careful with that. And you know what? I'm not sure I'm going to have enough. This piece has certainly given me a run for my money as far as, you know, how much is needed for it. That's for sure. At least I'll have a better idea this time. So what I want to do now is, because it's getting under there, I want to start tapping. Oops, and be very careful with this lid. So I've got an air bubble, so let's set these down right here. So I want to very carefully get that out of there. I don't want to be dealing with an air bubble in this lid. And see, it's going to be hard because I'm not going to try and move this around. I guess this is where my Lazy Susan would be helpful, eh? so that we don't deal with that, you know, moving it around. So I've got quite the big space over here. So maybe once I get some more resin in there, it'll fill it up. Starting to fill it up. Put some red over there. It's almost like a bit of a game now. I can't believe how much this piece takes. It just floors me how much it takes. So I apologize for my hands being in the way, but being that I'm right-handed, I gotta be really careful doing this. So I do have a couple of air bubbles. I'm just gonna try and push them out. There goes one. Okay. I think I'm pretty good from that perspective. So what did we end up with? I don't remember. So let's get this filled up to the top. And I'm going to put some more blue in because I definitely have a lot of blue left. Okay, let me just go carefully around the edge of this. Okay, I got my red. Maybe the wrong thing to have done. I'm going to mix that up. I know it's going to be on the other underside, but I think I might mix that around a little bit. Just so it's not so in your face. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to put just a little bit more blue in that. Okay, we'll stop there with the lid. So like I say, it takes a lot of resin. So we'll have to see how we manage. I'm just checking my legs here. All right, let's get going on the bottom of this. Okay. Go a little higher, see if it helps at all. And what I might do is, depending on how much I have, I may very well sort of move this around to make sure it gets all down the edges. Because that's another thing I noticed with it when I had done it with the Alumilite, was that it sort of had its own ideas on how it was going to flow over the edges of this piece, the bottom piece. So we're just going to okay, so I'm almost out of white now. Definitely have lots of blue, eh? So whether I was too generous with the red and white when I was pouring this, I'm not sure. Okay. And the blue. I like that I'm sort of holding it up high. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to make some more of this, and I'll do that off camera. I'll get more made up, and and then of course all my stars are in the bottom. Oh well, that's okay. That's the thing with glitter, right? It sinks, and then all of a sudden you've got all the glitter at the bottom. That's too funny. That's okay. So we may not have that many stars and whatnot in the top, but we'll definitely have them in the bottom. Okay, I wonder if my spatula will fit in there so I can get as much out of that as possible. I think maybe if I don't have enough, I don't think I'm going to be too far off, but might as well get all the sparkle out, eh? No point in wasting it. Alright, I think that's pretty much all my white that I've got to get out of here. Okay, and then we'll do the red next, and then we'll top it off with blue. So again, I apologize for my hands being in the way here. Yeah, I wish I could do it the other way, so you can see. That might be a little bit better. Let me just clean the bottom of this. You know how happy I'm going to be if I have enough? I'm going to be that happy. And again, with this slip on this one, I am also going to make sure I don't get any air bubbles. I find these silicone spatulas that you'd normally use for baking are actually really helpful when it comes to cleaning out these heavy plastic pieces. And you can see how much I really want to get this, as much of it, you know, in my piece as possible, eh? And everything's getting sticky in the process. That's another thing I really watch too, is I find sometimes my gloves get really sticky, and then I go to pick something up and either things don't get picked up the way I want them to, or I end up, you know, sort of accidentally putting something in the way I don't want to. So I think the lid's going to turn out, you know, slightly different than the bases here. Okay, now I can see the resin moving around the sides here. I kind of wish I'd had my lid somewhere else, so I'm just going to not do that. I was going to say, I'm just going to carefully move this, but no, I'm not. So I'm just going to get this underneath and work on getting all the resin around where I can see. I really wish, if someone has an easier way of doing this, please let me know. If you have a trick for getting air bubbles out underneath, or if you're basically, you just do what I do, that you just push the air out from underneath. I think that's weight. I don't think that's something I have to worry about. I think if I had done maybe, as I sit, just give me a second, I got an air bubble there. If I had done maybe another 10 or 20 mils of this stuff, I would have been laughing. I would have been fine with it. But so 340. So let me tell you how I did it, since I'm so close. Let me get the rest of my blue out of here too while I'm thinking and talking about it. So what I did was, I had initially filled this with water to try and get the estimate for the Alumilite, and I was totally off. It took about 600 mils. At the end of the day, when I finally got it finished, it took about 600 mils of the Alumilite. And I'm going to show you the piece because I was trying to make it was going to be a video, and it went so horribly wrong, and I got so upset. Like, I was just sort of beside myself with it. And my calculations originally, I had thought originally, you know, maybe 500 for it, and I should have gone with that because I would have been so much better off than what I was, because as I said, it's just one of those pieces that I couldn't, yeah, it just went. But once I get all this cleaned out and it's sort of set, then I'll show you, and you can see sort of some of the issues I ran into. And again, I don't think it was the right piece to use the Alumilite on, because the lid is seriously heavy. I am not cleaning those out. They can go. It's seriously heavy. Even with drying out for a couple of days, it's seriously too heavy. Anyways, let me just clean up my utensils a little bit before we... All right. Okay, so I am going to make up a little bit more for this base here. And maybe what I'll do is I'll let it sit for a couple hours before I do. I almost have enough. Like I said, if I had done about 10, 20 mils more, I'd have been golden. It would have been enough. So when I put in my notes about how much to use for this, I'm going to say, I did 340. I would say about 350 for sure, maybe 360. So I think what I'll do is when I make up more, I will make up, I'll make up 20, and that'll give me a good indication if it's enough. It should be really close if I do up 20. And then we'll come back and demold it. So let me pull my gloves off, and I'll show you what I did with the Alumilite. I got an air bubble in my lid. I want to go try and get rid of that. My gloves are stuck to my hands. Ugh. Ugh. All right. Off. And now my fingers are sticky. Oh, it just never ends, does it? All right. So here's the piece I did with the Alumilite. Again, I wanted to kind of see too how my colors were going to turn out. I think once this has a coat of something on it, it'll be much better. So yeah, I ended up with some massive air bubbles in this piece because it was, yeah, it did not go well. I will be totally honest, it did not go well. Here's what the bottom, this weighs a lot less obviously because it's only, you know, what it is, but again, air bubbles, and I want to fill those in with resin, so I need to get this cleaned up really well and then see about putting some resin on it and then coating it. Now I may also have a bit of an issue here because I wasn't doing it all in one go. I mean, that might break off, so I'm going to have to be really careful with that. So it's definitely something to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out. I don't know what the trick is really for figuring out on a piece like this, but yeah, so there you have it. I'm glad I was close with the resin, and when this is all done, when it's set, we will be back to take it out of the mold. I look forward to seeing you then. It is time to take these two pieces out of their molds. I did add a little bit of extra sparkle to this one. I had to mix up, and I had originally thought I would only need 20 mils of extra resin. I actually did 40, which basically just brought it up to the top. So I'm glad I did that. So I'm going to weigh these because I'm kind of curious to know how much each piece weighs, which may help me to understand better how much each piece actually needs from a resin perspective. It may not work, but I kind of want to see how close I am to what I've actually used from a resin perspective. And I believe it was the Galactic Glimmer red and blue. I'm trying to remember what it said on the eye candy package. Anyways, it was eye candy I used for that. I also want to mention, before I forget, and I made myself a little note, that eye candy now has that you can build your own set of mica powders. They just recently announced that, and I don't know how many of you use eye candy, but I thought that was pretty cool that you could go in. Now, I think it's 10, 20, I'm thinking maybe 50. I'm not 100% sure of the number of packets you can have in a bundle, but I just thought I would mention that because I thought that was pretty cool that they have decided to do that, and I think they're sort of going to run it and see how it goes, and then, you know, determine, do we keep it going, do we not? But I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was really cool. Let's get done molding these. Now, I think I might have some air bubbles in these. I'm not expecting them to be near as bad as what I had when I did the Alumilite hydro casting powder, but yeah. Let's see how this turned out, how our red, white, and blue came out. And I'm expecting these to be somewhat lighter than what the hydrocast was. It's amazing if you've worked with both of them, how much of a difference you can get from a weight perspective, for sure. I just want to get my mold turned right way around again and get it out of the way. All right, so here's the base. And all kinds of stars in there, eh? That's kind of cool. And it's interesting because I just want to feel the bottom of that. And I don't know if that's the mold itself. So interestingly enough, and it wouldn't be, but it's not like flat. If that is, it's almost like it's got some indentations in the base of that. And I'm trying to, just give me a second because I want to grab this one. Actually, I can feel it a little bit in this one too, but it's definitely more noticeable with the resin in it. I don't mind that. I think that's kind of cool, but I totally was not expecting that. So it's sort of like, almost like a little bit of a ripple effect, if you will. You can't see it, but you can definitely, you can feel it. That's kind of neat. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked on that. So let's see the sides of this. Not too bad, eh? For doing it. I had almost wondered if I wouldn't have been better off doing it as a dirty pour, like a paint pour. I like how this looks, actually. I don't mind that at all. And you can see through it a little bit. And I don't know if you can catch that. So the red and blue. And it was interesting because I was a little concerned when I did the red and blue if it would actually turn purple. And it has, like the colors kept firm with the red and blue, which made me very, very happy. So that's really cool. Okay, so there's the bottom. The top did get very warm initially when it was curing. And again, I think part of that is because I, was back and forth. Like I poured one color and then another and then the next one and whatnot. So I think that might have had a little bit to do with it. Because I don't really consider this a deep pour. Some people may. But anyway, I think next time I would do it as a dirty pour if I wasn't doing it in a solid color. Alrighty. Ooh, we got some sparkle on this. And there we go. There's our lid. Now, I want to see, just give me a second while I reach for the lid of... Okay, yeah, there's definitely a difference in weight, for sure. Not a lot, yeah, knock them together. Not a lot, but I'd have to say this one's heavier, which makes sense to me. This takes a lot of product. Okay, so I can see some stars in here, some stars there. Not bad. I kind of wish it would looked a little more like this, but nonetheless. And that's the inside. And I had at one point, I thought I might have an air bubble. So I put one of my sticks into it and it was already starting to cure. But yeah, so we have two of them. I would have to say the resin one is my favorite, but granted, I haven't done anything to the other one. But yeah, so there we have it. there is your 4th of July. I want to say this is a trinket container. I know it's much bigger than what technically trinkets would go in, but I think it turned out really nicely. I like it. I like it better right now than I do the other one, and it worked out much better than the other one. So I'm quite pleased in that, because I don't, let me see, I do have some air bubbles. I have an air bubble right here. But you know what? I think for the most part, I mean, this really came out well. I'm just sort of feeling, I do have an air bubble here. And I have micro bubbles, but I'm not bothered in it. This is on the bottom. I'll fill that in with UV resin just because I like to do that. But yeah, so it turned out very nicely. So I'll weigh these, and I'll mention in my description the weight. I'll tell you for both of them what the one was versus the other one. And I'm like I say, I'm going to be very curious on the resin one, how close from a weight perspective I am to the amount of resin I actually ended up using. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Comment below on what you think, where your choice would have been. And I hope, again, I really hope that you've had a great July 4th, that the weather's been awesome, that you got to do something fun, or even if you did nothing, maybe you read a book, maybe you just watched a movie, chilled for the day, whatever you got up to. I hope you had a wonderful day. Thank you very much for watching, commenting, subscribing, liking, and we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.